So, Wesley, thank you very much for joining Future Net Zero. There is an ongoing debate right now with some people saying, in recent reports, saying that this coronavirus outbreak, a decrease, a drop in global EV sales of about 43%. And other people saying and claiming that probably this coronavirus lockdown could help other people see the improvement in the air quality and in these environmental consequences after this lockdown, and probably could make them believe that electric vehicle is much better for them. What do you think about this period?
I think that both points you've made are certainly true to a certain extent. I mean, we only have to look at the reduction in pollution from people not driving vehicles, the reduction in NOx, to see the benefits that we could have by moving towards electric vehicles. But your first point about reduction in sales is certainly true, and that's going to have a big impact on the EV industry. I believe that that's going to be a short-term impact, and when things return to normal, that the EV industry is going to try and play catch up. So in the long term, in the next perhaps 10 to 15 years, I don't think it's going to have a huge impact. But certainly in the next 1.5 to 2 years, I think there will be a significant impact in the EV industry and the automotive industry in general.
It says in 2019, only 1.6% of new passenger vehicles were sold and were electric vehicles, but they will need still to form the majority of sales from 2035. So what do you think, and how can this be possible in the next decade and a half to set Britain on track for zero carbon car travel?
Yeah, so there's two ways you can look at the vehicle sales statistics. The first is to look at the total number of sales, and then battery electric vehicles look like a very insignificant number at only a few percent. But then if you look at the year-on-year growth of electric vehicles, you have double digits of percentage of growth in electric vehicle sales year on year, and that's in an automotive industry that in the UK is reducing ever so slightly over the last few years. So you can see that it's a real growth industry, and that's why the automotive manufacturers are investing in that area so heavily. So if that growth rate continues, it may be a small amount now, but I can certainly see it being a huge proportion in the future. And you can see that just by driving around before all of the coronavirus restrictions happened. You were seeing more and more electric vehicles. A year or so ago, it might have been, oh look, there's an electric vehicle, or there's a Tesla, or something like that. But now it's an everyday occurrence.
What do you think that the UK government must do to phase out petrol and diesel and hybrid cars by 2035? Some specific steps do you think that are essential in order to see this transition?
Yeah, so investment is certainly essential. There's the perceived chicken and egg problem about what comes first, the electric vehicles or the charging infrastructure. And what we're actually seeing is a combination of the two coming together as fast charging networks improve, and we see more and more electric vehicles being sold. I think it's also important to invest in the automotive industry and trying to manufacture as many of these vehicles as possible in the UK. So we could achieve our targets by buying electric vehicles that are made elsewhere in Europe or in China. If we really want to maintain our leading automotive industry, then we really need to try and produce these vehicles in the UK. And that's where the difficulties arise, and that's where big investment is going to be needed centrally from the government to really support the automotive manufacturers to build electric vehicles in the UK.
Which do you think are the main obstacles in this pathway, in this roadmap, in order to see this industry's transition to clean electric transport?
So the technical issues with good engineering can be, there's ways around them. We see the cost of batteries reducing, and we see their lifetime improving, and that's mainly engineering solutions and electrochemistry solutions that are solving those problems. The perhaps bigger unknowns are around the political influences. So something that hasn't been mentioned very much in recent months is Brexit and the influence that that could have on our automotive industry is huge, and it's still not fully decided. So if there's large automotive manufacturers that are looking to put production facilities in Europe, it's difficult for them to invest in the UK when they don't know about the security of supply chains in the future. So I think for building vehicles in the UK, I think the biggest problem still is Brexit.
So do you think that the impact from the Brexit would be bigger than the impact from the coronavirus?
Perhaps not this year or next year, but certainly after 2 or 3 years, I believe so, yes. But again, it depends on what happens at the end of the Brexit discussions and what the final economy looks like at the end of the Brexit discussions.
What do you think about the future of hydrogen fuel cells? Do you think that could probably hold the key for the biggest, transition that we could see in the near future?
Yes, I'm glad you've asked about hydrogen fuel cells because a lot of people only consider battery electric vehicles as the only type of electrified vehicles when in fact hydrogen is an alternative. I personally think that hydrogen vehicles will be perhaps a better solution for larger vehicles. So we're talking heavy goods vehicles and buses and some fleet vehicles, particularly if they utilize a centralized refueling infrastructure. So like refueling at a bus station. Mainly because they have at the moment, they have much faster refueling times. But I certainly think in the future, the majority of passenger vehicles that you and I drive will be battery electric.
Mm-hmm. Joined by other academics, you have recently been awarded funding to help the design and development of an electric vehicle for research, teaching, and outreach in India. So tell us a little bit more about this project, because it sounds really interesting. It's a completely different market.
So building batteries and electric vehicles for the UK and European markets is very difficult, but it's possible. But when you move to the Indian market, which is a very large market, there's over 1 billion people in India. There are a few things that become very difficult. Firstly, the price of vehicles that are sold are much lower. The average vehicle price is much lower than it is in Europe. And secondly, India, much of India, especially southern India, is a lot hotter than mainland Europe. And batteries don't particularly like to be in hot climates. A lithium-ion battery likes to be at a temperature that you and I are comfortable with, so around 20 degrees. And as they get hotter, they tend to degrade faster, so their lifetime reduces. So the question is, well, what do you do if it's 40 degrees ambient outside and your vehicle's parked in the sun? And solutions to that are quite difficult. So you have to cool your battery pack when it's not in use, and that means it being plugged in. But a lot of properties won't have access to charging infrastructure. So there's lots of interesting solutions, and by working with universities and industry in India, it's a very interesting challenge.
So do you think that the climate would be the biggest challenge during this research?
Yes, so the thermal management, trying to improve the lifetime of the batteries, but being such a large economy, there are other options available. So instead of having a battery that's fixed in your car, you could move to a battery swapping technology, where you go to a service station and you remove your battery and put in a fresh, fully charged battery. So that gives very fast turnarounds, and then you can store the batteries at a fixed temperature. So there's lots of opportunities in that market for doing things differently to the rest of the world, because it's such a huge market.